So our next award in the Best Short Documentary for Social Issues from UK is Dean Cooper.
Thank you. That's beautiful. There you are. Thank you very much.
Please look here, thank you.
Well done, Dean.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry,
Thank you.
Can you look
at me also? All right, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can you tell us how you found out about the collective in the first place?
Right. This is my third documentary. I'd never made films before about 2017. I'll start right from the beginning quickly. What happened was my daughter was at Manchester University. She was on a teaching course there. She had a flat there. I used to go down and stay sometimes. I'm quite interested in photography and film, but I'd never made any documentary. I found out about some homeless people that were living in an old music hall in Hume, Manchester. And sort of, Facebook, it's so easy to get in touch with people. So I saw an article in the local paper, in the Manchester Evening News. I got in touch with these people because I thought the building looked amazing. It looked like, it had been abandoned for like 50 years, and it looked like a set of like Phantom of the Opera. It looked amazing.
I think I've been there myself.
Have you really? Hume Hippodrome?
I believe so.
Wow. And so I got in touch with these people and said, would it be possible for me to come in and take some photographs? And they got back and they said, no problem. I then was slightly concerned. I'd never been in a squat before. I'd never met squatters. And so I went in, and it was really like a portal to another world. And I photographed the building, and I actually did some video of the inside of the building, and I thought that their story, when I got to know them, was so fantastic. And they put events on in the old theatre, they put music events on. So I ended up making a film. That was my first film. And then that film got shown at some squatted events in London. I then got to know other squatters that were in an old library in East Ham. I then went down and I made a little documentary about them that got shown somewhere else. And so the people in this squat were people who knew the people that were in East Ham. So it sort of one thing led to another. But I think like my filmmaking had got better because it's a big steep learning curve. I didn't have any lighting when I first started. I had very basic equipment. But yeah, so that's really how I got to know them, was through other films that I've made.
The start, when we squatted it, one of the first days we found a book which had been written by one of the nuns which lived here and died here. And it's a book about poverty, sheltering, everyone deserving a home. So this is actually a book about exactly what we do, about our beliefs, just in way more Christian point of view. So this is kind of ridiculous. We took it like a sign, it has to happen here, and it's gonna happen here, and it's gonna be good. It's like a sign, And I thought like, church, Christmas, homeless people, housing, we should work together.
This film, how long did it take you to build up the relationships, the trust, and then decide how you were going to make, present it?
Yeah, it's really weird this, because my second film, which was about this library in East Ham, it was because my first film was about Manchester, and I only live an hour from Manchester, and my daughter had a little flat, so I could easily drive down to Manchester and meet these people, and I got to know them quite well in my first documentary. But then all of a sudden, I'm like decided I was going to make a film in London, and I met people at a screening of my first film, and they said, "Oh, we've got this squat, you could make a film about us." And they said, "You can stay if you want." And I thought, well, really, I don't have any funding. I just make films on my own. So I actually went down to the squat to stay there. One of the guys there, a guy called Bushy, who's a really clever lad, he when I'd finished the film, he said to me, "I know this guy, because I'm always asking them what else is going on, because I'm not a squatter myself." And so, you know, he told me about this guy. He said, "There's this guy that you must meet," and he was the main guy on the film, Bill, and he said, "You've got to meet him. He does a lot of work with homeless people, because although squatters are homeless, Bill is part of a group of people that they regularly take biggish buildings that are like, they're not residential buildings, because that's against the law. They've got to be like commercial buildings, and they get people who are sleeping rough and offer them somewhere to stay and feed them, and are really well organised. They do a fantastic job. But the way I got to know Bill was, I was just going to sleep one night, and my phone started going, and it had this, you know, when people do them things, them live feeds on Facebook, and it was around the time of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and I thought, Bushy never usually puts stuff on the internet, and there was this live feed, and I could hear a helicopter, and I could hear somebody shouting, and then the phones going, and I could see police, and I didn't know what was going on really. But what they'd done is they'd squatted a Russian oligarch's house in like somewhere like Mayfair, Belgravia it was, and they'd taken over this guy's house, and they put all banners at the front. And what their idea was is they were going to open it up to Ukrainian refugees, and they were going to like put Ukrainian refugees in. And I'm like, and so and straight away I just thought, I'd just about 6 months before that I'd made this film with Bushy about this library, and suddenly I thought, wow, what a fantastic thing to make a film about. Like, you know, there's these people, and they're not just talking, they're actually taking over these oligarchs' houses, and they're gonna put people in. So I got in touch with Bushy, and he said, Bill's the main guy, you've got to get in touch with him. And so I had a showing of my film about the library at a thing called TAAs. I don't know whether anybody's heard of them. Temporary Autonomous Art Spaces, where people squat a building and they put on a little festival, a little arts event, and had my film of the library on there. And he said, this Bill will be there, and he'd introduced me to him. And I met this Bill, and I said, I've got this film showing in half an hour, and he'd had a little bit to drink. And as soon as I said I was a filmmaker, he didn't really want to know. Like, you know, they don't know who you are, you know, they didn't know who I was. And so I dragged him along to this little showing of my film, and he was really impressed with the film, and just said to me, like, you know, you want to make a film about what we're doing, that's fine, you know, you sort of do it. But being quite a novice filmmaker, it was on my third film, and I was going to make this film, and then I realised, actually, I haven't got any footage of them going in the building. It was all over. They'd been kicked out. They were kicked out. It was on the evening news as well. It was on the evening news. It was on the daily news. So I videoed it all, and they kicked them out. And I realised quite early on that I've got no footage. I tried to get in touch with people that got footage from the outside of the police, and I soon realised that actually I'm trying to make a film and the event's passed and I can't really do it. So this Bill said to me, actually we run this shelter and it's really good, and we have homeless people, and he invited me down there. I went down, met him. Now, bearing in mind I'm like in Blackpool, so it's like a 3-4 hour journey. I went down the first time, so I'd only I stayed for 2 long weekends in the squat, and it was difficult to say the least, because to be honest, I'd never really met homeless people, even though I'd met squatters and I'd become quite friendly. I knew quite a few of the squatters. This building was full of people that had just been brought out off the street, and everybody was busy in the squat. The people I knew were busy, so they just plonked me down and they said, "This is the living room. You've got a room upstairs." And I thought, right. And then I had to chat to people, and people were saying, "What are you here for?" And I was saying, I'm gonna try and make a film, and they're like, "All right." And to be honest, the hardest bit was trying to get people involved, because there's lots of people that didn't want to be involved, which is fair enough. I didn't want to film anybody that didn't want filming. But it didn't go smoothly. There were some people in the squat that they weren't too happy with me being there. I don't think for whatever reason, they just really didn't want me there. So it broke down a little bit, the communications, and I ended up I had 4 or 5 days filming and interviews. So then I didn't really have an ending, because they had been thrown out of the squat, but then somebody pointed me in the direction of one of the neighbours that had the footage of the police coming in, which worked as an end bit, and then I used their social media posts, and we're back on speaking terms, and they're really happy with the film. But it is an extremely difficult thing to film, really, especially not wanting to include anyone that doesn't want, because there's a lot of vulnerable people there.
It's a very sympathetic portrayal of quite a remarkable experiment or place.
Yeah.
Do you think, and given what you've just said about your different experiences with squatters,
yeah,
who are, if you like, voluntarily
yeah.
homeless in many cases, and then the people who are involuntarily homeless, do you think this particular place and how it was run, is this an answer for homelessness, whether in London or in Blackpool,
yeah.
or do you have more ambivalent feelings about it?
Well, that's interesting, really, because until I actually met squatters, I'm fairly open-minded of the left, and I've never heard squatting discussed at all. Squatting, in most people's minds, is some sort of criminal thing, underworld, druggy, really thing. And I think it's weird as a society. It's never really discussed, because it doesn't really fit in with anything. These people are just going and they're taking a property which isn't theirs and they're living in it. And I definitely think it could be. It's definitely an answer to a problem, even if it's only temporary. I think what they're doing is brilliant, and they know that they can't keep hold of the building, and they know that they're going to get moved on, but then they'll just find another building, and there's so many empty buildings in London. I think it's a shame that squatting is shown in such a bad light, and I'm not saying that I am an expert on squatters. I'm not a squatter myself, but through the people that I have met, I think they're fantastic.
Dean, it's been fascinating talking to you. I wish we had more time. Congratulations on, you know, amazing film, and obviously a whole series of films and work you're making on this subject, and I feel much needed, given that what you described, like the political atmosphere we're in, and the housing need that we face. So thank you very much.
Thank you.